everyone understands house music. It's a spiritual thing, a body thing, a soul.
Hi, thanks for joining me on the Everything and Anything and a Bit Gay podcast. Today I have Isaiah on my show, and we are going to talk about Isaiah's life. I discovered him on TikTok, found him on Instagram. I, from an outsider, thought he had a pretty kind of fabulous life. He travels, he's been to New York and Vancouver, and I see these beach destinations that he goes to. He's been to France, I think. I started listening to some of his content and I wanted to talk with him about it because one of the things he said was that if he could go to the other side and be straight, he could because gay men suck sometimes. I agree with that too. Then he had another post where he said, opening myself up for new friends. I wanted to have him come on because I feel like I would be his friend and maybe we're going to find him the love of his life. But that's not the purpose of the show. The purpose is to talk to him and understand who he is. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Zach. Thanks for hearing my story. I'm excited to speak with you today.
Tell me a little bit about you. Where do you live? How old are you? What do you do? What's your work? What makes you happy?
So, home base for me right now is Arizona, but I consider myself a lot more nomadic. Spend a lot more time traveling. That's every week for me. I'm constantly somewhere else. I have friends
Okay.
in other cohorts of cities, so I go and see them often. And I've spent years diving into the gay community and honestly exploring that part of myself. I started when I was
Yeah.
16. I went to LA for the first time and went to a big LA party. And that was my first experience with gay lifestyle and that type of experience. I found it unfulfilling over the years. I've really been able to find a healthy, strong relationship that's been impactful that lasts longer than 2 or 3 months.
What do you mean unfulfilling? Do you just think the whole gay culture is unfulfilling or just like the people you meet are unfulfilling?
The people I think have good intentions. They want to share their life and their connection, but I don't think they have confidence in their sexuality and haven't tackled that necessarily from a community perspective. So maybe they haven't been accepted in their family or in the community from a rural area or an area that's not typically accepting. That's the typical struggle, right? You're dealing with your sexual orientation and the confidence in that, and you're not able to share that same confidence in your relationships. So that's something I constantly find.
Can I ask how old you are? Do you mind telling me?
24.
Okay, so when you meet people, what age group are you meeting? I see people that are younger now, more your age, coming out. Kids are coming out in high school and junior high even. And I know that's not everywhere. And there's certain parts of the country and the world where you can't do that still. But like what type of people are you like? Are they your age? Are you meeting people older, younger, or all over the place?
I work as an analyst for American Express, and I have a very older demographic that I work with on a daily basis. And I've met some other gay individuals and LGBTQ
Yeah.
individuals. And I'd say like on the other spectrum, going to the club or a local bar where people are younger, typically I'm looking for someone who's between 25 to 31, 32. I feel like I have more of a mature perspective. So it's difficult for me to navigate being with a 25-year-old, right? So that's why I typically go
Yeah.
for individuals who are a little bit older to really have a little bit more life experience.
I'll just tell you that I felt like when I was listening to you that you have an old soul. Like you don't seem like a typical kind of 24-year-old gay guy that's, I don't know. Whenever I was 24, I was a twinky little, thought I was the shit and all this. I lived in South Beach and I thought I was like a whole thing that I had going on. But you don't seem like that. You seem you're a little bit more down to earth and just like I said, an old soul, I think.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I've spent time working on boards and bringing in LGBTQ focused boards that help just underprivileged youth explore their sexuality and provide scholarships and whatnot. I've had this direct link and bird's eye view to see the impact of, I guess, just being gay and not really understanding that and navigating that at a young age.
Yeah.
I've grown up pretty fast and been interesting for sure.
So you have a good group of friends though, right? Because I see you on doing TikTok. It seems like you have a big group of friends that are girls. Is that correct?
Big group of friends that are girls, but I don't have a gay community. Like I do. And even on TikTok and Instagram, right? Like I've been able to build a little bit of a community through New York or LA or any other parts, but not necessarily an actual gay community that I can like in friends.
Yeah.
Because I feel
Yeah.
like that's kind of, I wouldn't say taboo, but it's not really accepted in a way. And I feel like even the communities that I do see in LA or New York that are these small, like cohorts or subsets of people, they are fighting, they have lots of drama, they're not really
Yeah.
having these good connections. And I don't want to generalize, but it's something I've noticed. And I know a lot of these people personally. So it's just a struggle and it's something I'm trying to work on as well.
Where is your home base? Are you in Arizona?
Home base is Arizona.
Okay.
That's, yeah.
And is Arizona, I've only been to Phoenix. I've been to Sedona, but just quick trips and stuff. Is there a gay population in the city you live in, or is it not?
There is, there are gay people, but I would say it's just not as accepting as I would like it to be. And living in Scottsdale in particular, something I've with the conversations I've had is it's not an accepting community. So I think people struggle to come to themselves and
Yeah.
feel.
Yeah. Is Scottsdale an older population where people go to retire in some ways?
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay, cool. And tell me just about how you've given up on apps. Let's talk about that. So you were on apps. Were you on like typical kind of dating apps, Grinder, or I don't know, eHarmony? I don't know what the dating apps really are. eHarmony, Match.com. I know maybe these are all outdated, but
I think
what
no,
date?
we don't really use those anymore necessarily. Like eHarmony, like those were good, I think, like 10 or 15 years ago. But nowadays it's Tinder. A lot of people use Grinder, but I constantly hear that Grinder is this nasty, superficial, quick fix for people to hook up with each other and then part
Yeah.
ways. And so I stopped using Grinder years ago because I just wanted meaningful relationships. But then you go on an app like Tinder, which is, I think, everybody's second choice. And then those, it's the same type of thing. Nobody's really looking for this real connection.
Yep.
And for someone who's a hopeless romantic, you hope you're walking down the street and bump into someone, your book bag falls and they help you pick up your papers. And if you lock eyes with them and you're in love forever, like it's atypical for our community. And I feel like, especially in adolescence, going to middle school, if you are struggling with your sexuality, you don't necessarily navigate that typical experience of having a high school boyfriend or going out on those dates or going to prom. You have that maybe in your 20s or in your 30s. It's something
Yeah.
I've noticed at least.
As your parent, are you out to your parents and are they accepting of it?
Yes, I'm out to my parents. Think my father was not accepting at first. Took a lot of learning and a lot of understanding, but I'm
Yeah.
thankful that we have a great connection now and a good relationship.
That's awesome. Same thing that happened with me. So I went with 6 months of not, my father didn't speak to me and then he came around and it was great. Tell me, like, I see that you travel solo and that's something that I actually wanted to do an episode on, just people that, because I have a friend, Brian, who's recently out of a relationship. I guess it's been a year now. And he just took like a 17-day cruise in Europe by himself.
Wow.
And he's going like all these places alone. And he said it the first day or so when he did it the first time, he was like, this is strange having dinner by myself. But then he ended up meeting people and just, he said it's the best time to do that. So do you feel the same way about traveling alone?
Yeah. So I started solo traveling probably back in 2019 officially, and I'm actually in Mexico right now. And this is the first place Puerto Vallarta where I came and traveled alone. And what I would say is it's a great opportunity to meet people, but also build identity capital, something we don't really focus on, I feel like, in your 20s, especially. So being alone just challenges you to explore those problems you're having and define those
Yeah.
solutions for yourself, but then meet people along the way and say, hey, I'm on a solo trip. I'm not with 8 people. So I can tag along or go and do your experience as well.
Yeah. Have you ever met anybody that like you thought it could be more when you're doing these solo trips?
Potentially, yeah, I would say so, but they're short lived. It's hard
Okay.
because I think when you come to these places, if you don't, again, I specify and it's not because I still have a couple of them that like, I'm just looking for friends.
Yeah.
I think people still don't take that to heart and they want more.
Yeah.
Obviously, but
When I moved from New York City to Boston, like Boston's a tough gay crowd. So they're like I think they're very clicky where a lot of people never left. They grew up in Massachusetts and never left. And they ended up, this is where they are. And this is where their whole group of friends are. And they've like never ventured out. So to get into a group of gay friends in Boston can be difficult. So I realized that pretty quickly. Luckily, I had a couple of friends that moved from New York around the same time, so I was good. But I did try Bumble BFF. Have you ever tried that?
So I have that up as well.
And so whenever and then I lived in Texas, in Dallas for a year and a half for this job. When I went there, I'm like, how am I going to meet people? Like, I was going out to bars once in a while and stuff, but like, how do you meet people? And without, I don't know. So I ended up going on Bumble BFF and I met my friend Brian there and his partner Shane at the time. And me and Brian text and talk like every single day. So that app works good for friends. So that's the only example I really have. Haven't really, there's a couple other people I met from Bumble BFF, but I think, like you said, their intentions are friends, and then when you meet them, you're like, "I think you want more than friends, and I'm just not there. I just wanna be friends." So I think is that does that happen to you? Sometimes you meet them and you think that you're just like, it's friendship only, and then it's they want more?
Sometimes I feel like they're looking for more than that. And it's
Yeah.
difficult to navigate a platonic relationship in the gay community specifically. And I'm such an optimist. I'm also a realist. And I feel like unless we're willing to have these conversations within our community to say, hey, what's going on and what's wrong? And why can't we connect on a deeper level? And why are
Mhm.
things so superficial in a community that's been built on acceptance and loving each other?
Yep.
If we can't get past that, then we're going to be stuck for a while. And I hear this, and I read through a lot of my comments and people just saying, I don't fit in. I'm not perfect. I don't have this specific Eurocentric beauty or this golden standard that's been set. And I just wonder where this standard has been set. Or how do we navigate that so we can get beyond? So if you're looking just at friendship, just looking for friends, but then looking for someone to date, we can accept people and stop putting them in these small categories.
You would be a really good friend for someone. So I hope one of my listeners like really reaches out to you and wants to be. I want to be friends with you. Like you seem like a really just amazing person. Just and it's I don't know. You have a good head on your shoulders where you're thinking the right way. You like to travel, and so I think you'd be an amazing friend for someone. So I hope somebody like even if they're not in Arizona, they're somewhere and they'll meet you on travels and stuff. So
I would love that.
I'm going to Iceland December 27th. Come with me and my husband to Iceland if you want.
I would love to. I'm going to Houston to visit family.
Okay. All right. If you change your mind, December 27th to June 2nd, January 2nd, we're in Iceland. You're more than welcome to come along. So,
That sounds beautiful, though.
so did you grow up in Houston?
Houston's home base for me. Grew up there for 10 years. Then my dad got a new job and relocated us to Arizona. We've been there.
Okay. Okay, cool. And what type, like, who would make you happy if you could like describe the ultimate guy? Like, what guy, forget about age and all that, but who is that person that you want? And I think everybody has that person that they would always love to be with and stuff. But if you could pick any guy, no boundaries, who would that be?
That's such a good question. And I've had a lot of time to think about it. I think someone who is confident in themselves and can communicate effectively. I don't think it's all about looks. I think you should be attracted to the person you want to be with,
Yeah.
obviously. But there are so many good characteristics to look for beyond the looks. I'd say someone who's confident. I'm religious, like I'm Christian. I would say I have a relationship with God. So finding someone who also has a similar interest. There's a lot of, you could go down a rabbit hole with that stuff. Someone who's just a bit religious and have an understanding that there's something bigger than ourselves out there. And someone who loves deeply and is okay with being vulnerable. I feel like we don't want to be vulnerable necessarily as much anymore because we're scared.
Yeah.
Fortunately, the best things come when you encourage to be scared and be vulnerable. And that's the thing I
Yeah.
do find as well. People aren't willing to let their guard down because they're afraid of what might.
Yeah. And what about, do they need to live in Arizona or can they live somewhere else? And because long distance relationships are not easy. So would you be willing to try that? Or would you ever relocate for someone?
Believe it or not, I'm looking to move in the next 6 months. So I don't know where
Yeah.
that is.
Okay.
I know where the wind blows and looking for job opportunities, honestly, all over. It just depends what happens and what job offer I do get. But I was just in a long distance relationship for I just got out of it. I would say long distance is extremely difficult. It takes a lot of work from both sides.
A lot.
Fortunately, I put in all the work on my side and the other party didn't. So I noticed that that's important to put in similar effort. I would say long distance right now is probably my route. I'd like to meet someone who's relatively close.
Yeah.
I'm willing to go over to another state that's closer.
Yeah. I said that Boston is a really tough crowd to meet people, but I do think you would be good in the Northeast. I have friends that are a little older than you that I think would like just love being friends with you. I think one of them would probably fall in love with you, and he's amazing. So, Matt, if you're listening to my podcast, this could be your new future husband. And he is like you. I always call my friend Matt. He has an old soul. And I think he just turned 30. He's just such a genuinely nice person. He's a good looking guy. He's tall. He's, I don't know, 6'2" or something. And he's just so genuinely nice. And I think he thinks a lot of things the way that you think of people. He has a good group of friends, but I think it took him a while to get that group of friends in Boston and stuff. But he grew up in the Massachusetts area too. So if you ever come to Boston, I will introduce you to Matt, and maybe that's where you go. I also think you might be great in New York too. I think New York. So I lived in New York for a very long time, and New York. I see that you've been to New York before, and I don't know if you've noticed, but just going into gay bars and stuff in New York, people are so friendly and so nice, and I just love the New York gay community because of that. Because I feel like you could, if you don't have any friends in New York, you can go out one night and come home and have 20 new best friends. So I don't know what your experience in New York.
I love New York City. I really remember going there for my 21st birthday. And I've been many times, 'cause I have friends there and girlfriends who what my 21st birthday. So because my sister ended up getting sick, we were supposed to go to this big event together. And working, so I said, you know what? I'm going to go solo. I was in Tucson at the time. I flew from Tucson, Arizona, all the way to New York alone. And I don't remember much of the night. I wake up the next day, I have 100 new Instagram followers. I must have been in the club,
Yeah.
seeing friends and meet people. And I met a ton of really good people that I still follow. And it is true. It's a connective space. You're able to walk in and just meet someone, and maybe they're a lifelong friend. But there's a lot going on in New York City. There's a lot. Like,
I think you should think about the Northeast. I think you would be a really big hit, and I think you would fit in well also. I don't know, I think LA is kind of superficial and fake in a lot of ways, where New York City is more real, and you're gonna meet so many different types of people in New York. Boston's very real too, and I just want you to move to Boston because I want you to be my friend, that we go out to lunch every Saturday together and stuff. So I'm selfishly wanting you to move here, but plus, when you're living on the East Coast, it's so much easier to get to Europe, and I've seen that you've gone to Europe a few times and stuff, so I think that you should really consider that. I grew up in Miami and lived there for a long time as well. I don't think Miami's for you. It's so superficial.
yeah, I've been to Miami twice, and it's, it's not like tea. You know, Florida,
Yeah.
like tea in general.
Yeah, I don't think anybody wants to live in Florida that's gay anymore. So I have another question for you that's off topic, because this is something I've been wanting to ask. And I just don't understand, because I've been in a relationship for 26 years, a monogamous relationship, 26 years. And so my question is today, so everybody's on PrEP now that's single. I don't understand like how you can, I understand what PrEP does. You got a very much better chance of not getting HIV from PrEP. But now, like all my friends that are single that are on PrEP aren't using any condoms, aren't using any protection at all. They're just going off and doing their thing. And whenever I was living in South Beach in my 20s and living in New York in my 20s, that was like you used a condom for everything because, and now with PrEP, people don't. I, what I do, I get not the risk of HIV is very low at that point, but there's all the other things with it. So can you explain to me, as a man that's been in a relationship for 26 years that's not on PrEP, that doesn't have to worry about condoms or safe sex anymore because we're monogamous, and like, aren't you worried about other things that people are on PrEP, like herpes, gonorrhea, like anything else? Does that not ever come into anybody's mind that's just on PrEP?
No, I think I didn't live through this. The life in the 80s and the pandemic and everything then. But
Yeah.
I think, first of all, something I noticed is a lack of knowledge. People don't understand, for example, if you talk about HPV or HIV, there's differences between those two. People are
Yeah.
so worried about HIV, and I'm on PrEP, I'm crystal clear, and I'm good to go. I think there's just a lack of general knowledge about sexual health and education. And we don't talk about that enough. So people think, oh, I'm on this magic pill. I'm okay to hook up without the use of protection.
Yeah.
I don't agree with it. I think there are many other things you can get and people do. I just think it's less of a lifelong commitment. Let's say you get gonorrhea or something like that, it's going to be treatable.
Yeah.
There are other sexually transmitted diseases you can get. To answer your question, I don't know. I think people are just
Yeah.
want
Okay.
and do things and not have any repercussion. And people only think that there's HIV out there to get as far as their STD.
Yeah, you're right. Gonorrhea is curable, stuff, but if you get herpes, you got that kind of for the rest of your life. And I just couldn't imagine like taking that risk and stuff. Like I said, I've been in a 26-year relationship, so it's just crazy to me that people just don't use condoms at all or think about those other things. So I think you're right. They're out to lunch.
Yeah.
My last question for you is, I think, like I said, I think you have a really good life just from going through your TikTok and going through your Instagram and stuff. But I want to ask you, are you happy? Do you think you're a happy person?
I would say I'm happy, but happiness ultimately, I think, comes down to making a choice to be happy. And I'm pretty open and transparent, especially with strangers. I feel like there's a way to connect with everyone regardless. And I'm really focused on making connections. I got out of a relationship recently. I was cheated on. I was in a long distance relationship. I was in Europe and got them on Grindr. Just push this desire to understand myself and understand the world around me and the gay community in particular and say, what's going on? Like, why are we always looking for something beyond this healthy, fulfilling relationship? So after this happened, I would say I started to learn a lot about myself and navigate that in a different way. Say now I'm focusing on being happy and getting back to that charisma I carry. I think like I'm there and I am happy, but I'm big on practicing gratitude and taking that as an everyday practice because there's something to be thankful for every day. So I'd say being happy is a choice because regardless, I think there's obstacles you're going to face and brushing those off to the side and just keeping moving forward is super important. I would say I'm being happy.
Okay, good. I'm glad to hear that. I think you'd be a good influencer too. I think you're on your way there, hopefully.
Yeah, I'm going to stay consistent with my content creation and connecting with people. And I feel like there's a lot of good opportunity there.
Yeah, I think you just need to do a few more podcasts or something. So on Instagram, you're Fruity Golden is your handle on Instagram. What is your TikTok? Is it the same on TikTok?
It's Fruity So Golden.
It's Fruity So Golden on TikTok. So check him out. I think he's got some really great content. As you can see from this interview, he is an amazingly nice and genuine guy. And if you're 25 to, let's go up to 34 just to see what happens. If you're
Sure.
25 to 34, my dream is to be a matchmaker. And if I could find Isaiah the husband, I feel like I will get to make a speech at your wedding if I can find him for you. And
I think
so send me a message. My email is zach@everythingandanythingpodcast.com. Send me a message why you think you would be a good match. And I will go through and I will screen out all the people who think are not good for you. And then, or just if you think you're that great, just send them a DM yourself on Instagram and tell them why you think you would be a good match him. But you are, like I said, a really great guy. Something about me said I need to interview this guy. I have a backed up schedule of podcast interviews to do. I have actually 3 more to do today. I'm like, I got to fit you in because something about you just had a good vibe and a good aura. So I'm so glad you took time to do this interview.
Thank you for having me. It was such a good conversation.
Great. So be sure to follow Isaiah. Again, he is Fruity Golden on Instagram. And then what's your TikTok?
TikTok.
Fruity So Golden on TikTok. Follow him. I will put Instagram and in the description of this podcast if you don't remember it. And it was so great having you on. Thanks for being on. Be sure to subscribe to my podcast and leave a comment about this episode. So thanks everybody joining. Talk to you next week.
Not everyone understands house music. It's a spiritual thing, a body thing, a soul thing, a soul thing. Not every everyone understands house music.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Going to high. Let's go. 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 Get the fuck. Let's go.
Everyone understands house music. It's a spiritual thing, a body thing, a soul thing, a soul thing. Not everyone understands house music.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Going to high. Let's go. 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 Get the fuck. Let's go.